Now, here are your hosts, Captain Ed Mamet and Detective Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. I'd like to thank you for joining us. We have a great show today. I'm Kevin Schroeder, your host, and my co-host, the Captain Ed Mamet. Someone said he's taking golfing lessons today. I'm not sure about that.
Water
Either
skiing.
golfing lessons or water skiing. Thank you. We're not sure. One of them. With that said, today we have a roundtable setting, and my guest today is retired police officer David Giordano.
Howdy.
Also, retired Sergeant Rory Capra.
Hey, hello, Captain.
My former supervisor.
And, of course, mayoral candidate for New York City, representing the Republican Party, Curtis Sliwa. Curtis, welcome.
Thanks, but I haven't heard the term howdy since Howdy Doody. Wow.
I'm a throwback. I'm a throwback.
Republican Party, but also, let's not forget, first independent line ever for animal welfare called Protect the Animals.
Protect the animals.
So if you can't vote for me as a Republican, I get that. You can vote for me because we're going to protect the animals, no-kill shelters, and put animal abusers in jail.
Mm-hmm. So, Curtis, thank you for being here again. You've been on the show a couple of times. We're a big supporter of your campaign. You know that. With that said, how is the campaign going?
The last month, we've had a surge. So whereas Eric Adams has now dropped below double digits in the compilation of the last four polls, that's devastating for a sitting mayor. He's down to 7%. Cuomo is now beginning to recede a little bit. And Zorhan has pretty much leveled out ever since he went to the homeland of Idi Amin in Uganda and decided he wanted to be protected by AK-47 commandos wearing masks. He's leveled out. And I've actually surged. So now if you're looking at polling data, and obviously everybody follows the polls, there's really only three candidates who have a shot at this. Zorhan Mandami, Andrew Cuomo, and Curtis Sliwa. And I benefit because I'm the only Republican. The other three are Democrats. And if you start with the vote tally that I had the last time, 28%, I take it up a few notches. You're talking to the next mayor of the city of New York. You could win this race with 32% of the vote in a four-way race.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely, Curtis. You know, when you first ran in 2021, I think you surprised a lot of people because you really had a respectable showing in the polls. And this time around, you've come back in a big way. Your numbers consistently keep going up. What's the secret? What have you learned that has made you the candidate that you are today?
Well, not having done anything foolishly in the 2021 campaign that would tarnish me, being the first Republican ever to win the Asian vote, which even Rudy, as great as he was, for 2 terms couldn't do, and Bloomberg couldn't bribe them in 3 terms to vote for him. So that was a major accomplishment, and that starts to level the playing field. But I think in the fact that we now have 4 candidates, people size me up, and they say, well, let's see. Curtis rides the subways every day. Those 3 don't. Curtis is for non-citizens not voting. They're for non-citizens voting. They're for Sanctuary City. Curtis is opposed. So now when they start looking at the issues, instead of talking about Israel, Hamas, who's an anti-Semite, who's a socialist, who's a communist, that did Cuomo no good in the primary. But when you start talking about issues, I am different than those 3 in most instances. So then the voter has a clear view of somebody who's different, who thinks like they do, especially in the outer boroughs where people do not want these developers coming in and putting up 40-story skyscrapers as apartment houses, supposedly for affordable housing, and then there's no parking that comes with it. That's crazy.
Sure.
And people, they cherish their private homes, you know, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 family. So the city of yes that Eric Adams was able to get support on from both Cuomo and Zorhan Mandami will destroy the residential locations in the outer boroughs. And I'm the only one who's opposed to it. So you start looking, how is Curtis different than the 3 Democrats running? In almost all ways, I'm different. So now you have an alternative, and I think that's going to attract a lot of voters who are tired of the same old faces, Adams and Cuomo, and don't know enough really about the new kid on the block, who's Zorhan Mandami.
Dave?
Well, I think what's helping Curtis, too, is the other 2 are mired in corruption, meaning Adams and Cuomo. They can't escape that.
Oh, people forget, unfortunately.
This man to my right comes with a clean background, very little baggage, if any, and people see him as a wholesome New Yorker. As the other two that we just spoke of are in it for different reasons. They like the pomp and circumstance. They want to be carted around. If Curtis had his way and he became mayor, he'd be doing the subways just like he's been doing for the past 45 years.
Yeah, Curtis, you even recently had the New York Times sit up and take notice of you.
Well, that's a major achievement simply because in the past they have never taken my candidacy seriously. But I think now they've noticed that unions want to meet with me, with the fact that Cuomo lost to Zohran Mamdani in the Democratic primary, and not all the unions want to jump on board with Zohran Mamdani, understood. They see that business leaders want to meet with me because, again, they had all been on the USS Cuomo. They thought they were going to attend his coronation, and money would be falling from the skies for them. They realize that's not going to happen now. So they are hedge fund investors. They are hedging their bets. And the other thing that has become an issue in this campaign, which was not an issue the first time, is where do I wear the beret? Where do I not wear the beret? So obviously you're in the subways and the streets. I'm going to be wearing the beret. And a lot of people don't understand, guys, that just like the police department never forgets those who have died in the line of duty. You walk into any precinct, it's right there for everyone to see. We've had 6 guardian angels shot and killed in the line of duty in 47 years of service. We've had 36 seriously injured. So when I wear this red beret as founder and leader of the Guardian Angels, it's in recognition of their sacrifice and all the volunteers who've participated throughout the world, 13 countries, 130 cities. But I wasn't born with a red beret on my head, and when I die, I won't have a red beret on my head. So if people think that's so important, that defines their opinion as to whether they might vote for me or might not vote for me, I take the red beret off. Usually it's with the corporate types, the button-down types, who just can't get past that red beret. They see Che Guevara, and they said, well, you already have Che Guevara. He's called Zohran Mamdani. So you can be assured this does not represent Che Guevara.
Well,
So I'm sorry, on Inauguration Day, would you be wearing the red beret?
No. If I'm fortunate enough to be elected mayor on November 4th, no matter what the vote tabulations are, whether it's delayed because you have 4 candidates. So I'm anticipating a very close race. But when I get sworn in on January 1st, I will not have the beret on. And the people I will have behind me that we're going to honor that day are the 400 who either didn't get the vax, couldn't get the vax for medical, religious reasons, and first de Blasio and then Eric Adams had them fired. They lost their pensions. They couldn't pay mortgages. They were made homeless. They were scattered around the country trying to stay alive. And I'm going to invite them all back. If they want their jobs back, they're welcome to take them with back pay, full benefits. And we're going to honor them that day. We honored them, remember, during the lockdown and pandemic, every night at 7 o'clock, the essential workers who were dying for us. And then all of a sudden, because they wouldn't take a vaccine or couldn't, all of a sudden, first de Blasio and then Eric Adams stigmatized them, and they have struggled ever since. It's really a shame what Corporation Counsel has done on behalf of Eric Adams, fighting every lawsuit. When I'm mayor on January 1st, that's it, Corporation Counsel. These people, we're going to make them whole. No more lawsuits, no more battles in court. We're going to honor these men and women because they are men and women of honor.
So that brings me to my next question, Curtis. When you're elected, okay, what would be the first 3 executive orders you would sign off on?
The first 3 that we're going to sign off on, we've got to do something about this shoplifting that's killing businesses throughout the outer boroughs and in the city of New York. Look, when we walk through the city, the combination of congestion pricing and shoplifting is causing so many of these small stores now to close. They have this brown paper wrap with no hope to lease or rent in the future. There has to be a designated plan from police headquarters in which you're going to have special units assigned to this, and we're going to force the issue. Obviously, DAs are not going to prosecute. Bragg and Darcel Clark up in the Bronx are the worst. They just keep cutting them loose and just keep arresting them, put them in the system nonstop, make their lives miserable. And I think we'll go a long way into stopping this shoplifting, which is systemic. It's an epidemic. Yeah. Then there are two other things that people don't even talk about. Mm-hmm. Every day, 90,000 packages are stolen in New York City.
Wow.
The mayor has admitted to this. FedEx, UPS, USPS, the DHL. So when the men and women are delivering, there are people following them, the porch pirates. Mm-hmm. Boldly, brazenly, they start tossing the items off the porch into the back of the car. As you know, more than $1,000, it's now a felony. They never get arrested. When you report it to the local precinct, they say, we can't write that up. And that leads to all the home invasions that are occurring, especially out in Little Neck and Douglaston and Bayside, because they're going into neighborhoods that has no mass transit. Now, they're all of a sudden picking up packages and realizing, hey, we could come back here tonight with a little ski mask on. We're going to have a good payday. So you hit that, and then all the mail that gets robbed, especially in the outer boroughs, Social Security checks, debit cards, credit cards, nobody ever gets arrested. Right away, people will notice a difference. Wow, there's some normalcy. There's a consequence for your action, because essentially, to keep the numbers down, the police department has been told, don't make arrests in all those matters. Shoplifting, theft of packages, 90,000 a day that takes place, no arrest, and theft of mail, which is critical, especially to senior citizens who are expecting that check at the end of the month.
So as mayor, you'll be working with the DA's office, and you'll be pushing them to start prosecuting some of these.
Doing something that Eric Adams refuses to do, name and shame Alvin Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
You never heard him name and shame Alvin Bragg because he fears that Alvin Bragg will prosecute him, like he has first. His Department of Buildings corrupt one, Eric Ulrich, he was the first. And then, of course, his sidekick, his spiritual mentor, without whom he couldn't operate, the woman with the red lipstick on, I'm forgetting her right now. It'll come to me. Anyway, she got indicted too. Ingrid Lewis Martin.
Ingrid Lewis.
Without Ingrid, he can't function. So he's afraid that Bragg can prosecute him. And I don't think people realize Bragg can prosecute him on the charges that the Department of Justice dropped him on, like he did Steve Bannon.
As a
you know,
state
Steve
issue.
Bannon got a pardon from Trump, and you know who prosecuted him for the same crimes? Alvin Bragg. Yep. So he has Eric Adams by the short hairs. Right away, I'm going to be Alvin Bragg's worst nightmare. Every time a crime is committed, I'm going to be there, because wherever the mayor goes, the media follows. Look. This guy is going to be forced to do his job, or I'm hoping at least Stefanik becomes the governor. Mm-hmm. Because then she can fire.
Yep.
Finally, she can fire, which she has the right to do. A governor can. A district attorney, because a district attorney is really a state position. It's not a city position.
Or Bragg could lose this coming election to.
He's running against three. There's three people in that election. You have the Republican. You have an independent. Mm-hmm. He's going to be favored out of all the boroughs. I got to deal with it too. It's a sea of blue, Manhattan. Mm-hmm. But just maybe people have been sick and tired of all the crimes that are being committed to Manhattanites from the tip of the Battery right on up to Inwood.
So, would everyone agree here that the morale is down with the NYPD?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Actually, I have notes on that.
So, on that note, Curtis, what would your plan be to get morale back up in the NYPD?
First thing you got to do is visit every precinct. Bingo, 72 precincts. I should ask everybody up there on the stage, including the guy who says, I wore a bulletproof vest for 22 years, Eric Adams. He probably doesn't know how many precincts there are. A real house mouse in the time he was in the department. But actually go in there, talk to the men and women, pump them up, but then you got to do something other than shake their hands and build up their morale. You got to say qualified immunity that was stripped from you by the city council in 2019, by the state legislature, assembly, state senate thereafter. Cuomo said nothing. Adams said nothing. They basically took the code of omerta. I'm going to fight to get that restored. Every civil servant, all 300,000 that get paid by the city, have qualified immunity, except police. Look at Andrew Cuomo. He's been sued by 13 women for sexual harassment. He says, it was my culture that made me do it. Fanabula. Anyway, we pay all of his legal bills. Why? When he was governor, he had qualified immunity, basically insurance provided by the people. The cops don't have that anymore. That's why I notice they're very tepid in their responses. They hesitate because they could be sued, lose their home, lose their mortgage, lose everything. And we know that on the criminal side, whether it's the Civil Liberties Union, whether it's legal aid, there are legal organizations out there that practice a martial art all day called I Sue, and they have eyes for the blue. They'd love to be able to drive the police right out of existence if they can.
Yeah, Curtis, speaking still on police, recently I know you attended the funeral of Officer, now Detective Islam, and it seemed like you were swarmed with police, people coming up that wanted to talk to you, that expressed their concerns about what's going on in the city, what's going on with the police department, and you definitely gave them an open ear. Unlike apparently Governor Cuomo, who seems like he's in hiding. He doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Well, Cuomo was actually out there watching the body be transported from the mosque into the hearse for burial in New Jersey. But you can see the cops, they weren't talking to him. He wasn't talking to them. Right. He was respectful. Eric Adams was inside. He was eulogizing Officer Islam. Jim Walden was inside. I was outside with the cops. I think the moment that really crystallized in my mind is that right at the time that the hearse was pulling away, 5 inches of rain fell in an hour, and we were drenched. And the politicians walked away. You know, they had their aides covering them with an umbrella. And by the way, very few politicians. Didn't see Schumer there, didn't see Gillibrand there, didn't see AOC, that's her district, all out crazy. She wasn't there. And a lot of the other electeds weren't there. You say they had a whole bullpen for elected officials. There were, like, to be honest, 5. There was Cuomo on one side. He wouldn't look at Tish James, who was next to him a few feet away. And she kept telling me, don't drop out, don't drop out. I was a few feet away from her. But to be honest with you, the other elected officials that you couldn't pick out of a lineup unless you knew them, they weren't there. I mean, how could you not be there for this police officer killed, working a second job, really executed? The whole community came out. You know, it's a growing Bangladeshi community. Even Zorhan Mandami returned from Uganda and sat during the funeral procession because he knew them. Now, see, people don't understand. He's been cultivating a relationship with not only the Bangladeshis, a growing Muslim community in New York, but also the police association, the group that represents Bangladeshi police.
Yes.
They're very favorable to Zorhan Mandami, not because they like his positions about police, but he's cultivated a relationship with them over the years. And also, a lot of people on our side of the issue and attacking Zorhan, and rightfully so, because he doesn't, you know, he hates the police. He wants to defund the police. They attack his religion and they attack his culture. So that causes all the Bangladeshis to circle the wagon. And they are really conservative in their viewpoints. They are pro-police. So many of their daughters and sons become police. But when you attack their religion and you attack their culture, then they almost feel obligated to support the first major Muslim candidate who has a chance to be mayor. We're pushing them in that direction. Now, hypothetically, just imagine if it had been a police officer of another group who had been shot and killed in a line of duty. I think we would have seen a Bill de Blasio situation that we saw when he fled to Europe to be at that Earth Summit in Germany when the 2 police officers were shot and killed in a line of duty in their squad car in Bed-Stuy. And he disappeared and then came back, and the police at the wake, remember, and the funeral turned their back on de Blasio. I think if it had been a police officer of a different religious background, a different ethnic group, you would have seen that. Just my impression, just from my conversations with the police out there, all of whom remained behind and got drenched and came up and talked with me. You know what they were saying, Kevin? We need more police, not more gun laws. We need more police. Adams and Hochul, more gun laws, more gun. We have every conceivable gun law in New York State. They're saying we need more cops, Curtis. We only have 31,000 cops. We're desperately in need of more cops.
It certainly doesn't help when we have a parole board that's letting out cop killers.
Oh, Remember, under Cuomo.
Appointed by Cuomo.
Yeah.
Right. He did 4 releases of cop killers in 3 months, 44 in 8 years. He couldn't wait to cut him loose, and the majority of the parole board are Cuomo appointees. And Hochul is like Cuomo. She hasn't restricted them, because when you are appointed by the governor, you pretty much serve at the leisure of the governor. If the governor doesn't want somebody paroled, you're not going to parole. And then one of his parole board members is a woman I've seen on the Upper West Side who married a guy who had murdered somebody and got paroled. Not a cop.
Wow.
She married him, and instead of saying, well, you got to recuse yourself, no, she's still on the parole board. Can you believe that?
Unbelievable.
That is crazy.
When you're elected, of course, I'm assuming you would have a new police commissioner, correct? One chosen by you or your transition team, law enforcement transition team. Is that correct?
I think at first, remember, there's been such instability in the police commissioner's office. Remember, you went with Sewell first. I thought she was pretty good. Then she decides to discipline Mr. Caligula, Jeffrey Madry, homeboy of Eric Adams. He could do no wrong. She docked him 20 days, right? A vacation, a minimal. And Jeffrey Madry, no, Eric, no. And Eric Adams sided with Jeffrey Madry over his police commissioner. She had it at that point, because she was already boxed in by Phil Banks and Timothy Pearson. She couldn't even function. So she now works, charges security for the New York Mets, and she seems to be very happy. I thought she was doing a very good job. And then we ended up, with a criminal family, it seemed, that the moment they got into the 4th floor, Eddie Caban, they just started charging for badges, charging for promotions, shaking down nightclubs. He has a twin brother who looks just like him. I was at a philanthropic dinner one time. His brother was sitting there for a half hour talking to me. I thought it was Eddie Caban. And that's what they did. The brother went into these places, and the people who ended up going to Internal Affairs and IAD and the DA's office and the Fed said, we thought it was Eddie Caban, the police commissioner. Turned out it was his brother. His brother was part owner of Conce Frito up in the Bronx, where Eric Adams and all the politicos were hanging out to the break of dawn. So he had to go, right? Then they brought in Donlin. And then notice he's suing them and Eric Adams and Phil Banks and Pearson and the 2 cast characters of Mayhem. Kaz Daughtry. What a jerk. This guy makes videos all day long. He's drone boy. Hey, let's throw the drones up in the sky. John Shell, it's like they're Ike and Mike. They're like a comedy team. They're golfing with Trump. All of a sudden, they're going to have a sit-down with Sid Rosenberg. What do these guys actually do police work? I mean, they're not well respected. They should have been washed out a long time ago. So I think I have no choice but to have Jessica Tisch in there just for stability at first, see where she's going with the department. But I can tell you this, whoever I go with ultimately is going to run the department. I'm not getting involved unless I have to have a sit-down with the police commissioner. I think police commissioners have to be independent and autonomous, because if they are lackey of the mayor, like we've seen with Eric Adams, it never works out.
Right.
Would you keep the position deputy mayor of public safety?
That's ridiculous. The last deputy mayor of public safety was Judge Mullen for David Dinkins. Thank you, Judge. We had 2,100 murders a year and 10,000 unsolved shootings. This deputy mayor position of public safety went to Phil Banks, who hung out in the Verizon building, never signed in who he was meeting with. And basically, if you wanted to do business with the city and the Adams administration, you went to the Verizon building and met with the deputy mayor of public safety, Phil Banks, an unindicted co-conspirator who should have been in jail for laundering money during the period of time right before de Blasio.
So let's discuss briefly the elephant in the room. It's going to come up. ICE, formerly INS, ICE. Are we going to cooperate with them to get criminal, illegal aliens out of the city, criminal or that have deportation orders already, and have them removed from the city?
Yeah, when you're dealing with ICE, now that the president has made this like priority number one with Tom Homan, with the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, the former governor of South Dakota, the whole administration. But you got to have a little conversation from time to time. Like, for instance, go after the bad hombres. Absolutely. And there are a lot of bad hombres still in the city, but they try to stay in the shadows. They don't make it easy for ICE because they know ICE is looking for them. Drug dealers, gangbangers, sex traffickers, narco-terrorists, those kind of people. It's harder to get them because they know, stay out of sight, out of mind. But then they imposed a quota in Washington. And we know quotas are dangerous. When you put a quota out on police officers and you suddenly call that a performance guideline, there'll be a parking ticket and a moving violation a day that'll keep the sergeant away. And the police department honors people who write tickets, and the pressure is on. Stop and frisk, remember? It got so bad in 2011. It was 700 stop and frisk. You had to write up 5 people a day on those 250 cards. So it's the end of your shift. You haven't written anybody up. Your desk sergeant says, hey, in the box, where your 5 250s. You're jacking people up against the wall to try to make your quota. So I would say to Washington, hey, I think this is Stephen Miller's idea, Mr. President. You can't have quotas. You got to go after the really bad hombres. But if they're going to a court appointment, which was legal at the time under Biden, that you go through the portal, they parole you in to the country. Isn't that odd they say parole? They show up for their parole hearing. And if they haven't done anything, you got to let them continue to go through the court process. If you're snatching them up, then they're not going to come to court. Then all of a sudden it's cat and mouse. You can't be snatching them up when they're going to school. These young kids, they haven't done anything wrong. They probably came in with their parents or they came in on their own. I think the public will turn on ICE. And then you got guys like Andrew Cuomo, who already labeled them when he was governor thugs, actually said out in Suffolk and Nassau County he didn't want the Nassau County, Suffolk County Police and the New York State Police to work with ICE to get MS-13, which was hacking people up and killing people. Trump flew in with Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, at the behest of Peter King. They sat in the courthouse in Suffolk, the federal courthouse, and Trump said, no, you better all start working with ICE. If you don't, we're going to cut your federal funding. And they all began to cooperate. Now, MS-13 still exists in Central Islip, Brentwood, but nowhere near to the capacity they did before. So you work with them, but when it's a questionable situation, you got to say, hey, Tom, this ain't going over well.
Sure. And as a chief executive for New York City, that you will be,
right,
you'll be able to discern that. You'll be able to work and go after the criminal element versus the humanitarian concerns of the people of the city, and because we're a very magnanimous
assign
city.
a task force to work with them directly, so that when the detainer comes up, because it comes out of the computer, they're going out there risking their life. They're doing a great job, ICE. But they're also going whatever the computer spits out. So if you have an NYPD task force saying, hey, guys, I got to tell you, we've looked into this person. They're working a job. They got a family. They haven't been in trouble. This is not going to go over well in Sunset Park. We snatched this person up on their way to work. Now we're not going to get any cooperation. Before we're getting cooperation on the bad hombres. Remember, they were applauding.
Right.
They were giving tips to ICE. But if you start snatching up working class people who have been following the rules as they were told to them by the Biden administration, haven't missed court dates, there's no detainer out for them, leave them alone. That's low-hanging fruit. And that's because, I don't know this to be a fact, but this guy, Stephen Miller, who seems to have crafted this, has imposed a quota now of 3,000 a day.
Right.
Now, to get 3,000 lockups a day, some of the ICE people are probably going to say, let's hit Home Depot. We'll get a few there. And then that's all of a sudden where you get the blowback. And who's picking up the people at Home Depot? The same people who voted for Trump. I've seen that. They drive up in the van. They got MAGA stickers on, Trump stickers. They pick them up. They bring them to the house to do work. They give them the keys. They say, I'll be back at 5 o'clock, Diego. Here's a box lunch, $100 for each of you. And these people, they don't take anything. because they want to be picked up, in the future. If they get a bad reputation, that affects everybody. But those are the easiest people to pinch and then to make your quota. So you see, Adams isn't going to say anything because his benefactor, is Trump. And he's Trump's puppet now. So whatever Trump says, he does. But a mayor who happens to be a Republican from the same party says to Trump and everyone else, "Ooh, you're turning the public against us. We have to have cooperation from illegals to resolve other crimes. If they're terrified of the police, and guess what? The criminals are going to be able to have a total run of that community. And the only thing that protects those migrants, the police. And they do need cooperation from ICE and the police together in order to keep the bad guys at bay."
Yeah, so you're going to have a common sense approach, obviously, because you know the tempo of the city.
Yeah, and if you have to get into an argument with Washington over it, so be it. You can't be a puppet. Eric Adams cannot even speak for himself. Look at all the people he's got to answer to. He's got to answer to Kathy Hochul. He's got to answer to Donald Trump. He's got to answer to Ackman, the guy who's bankrolling him, the millionaire. He's giving him millions for his campaign. This guy picks his campaign team. He can't even make a decision. Adrian Adams is the real mayor of the city of New York, who controls the city council, who vetoes everything that he is intending to do. And let's face it, he's the guy who said, "I'm the cop's cop," who signed an order to give money to Antifa and Black Lives Matter for being kettled during the summer of George Floyd. Then when he was asked, "Why did you do that?" "Oh, Corporation Council made me do it." You're the freaking mayor. You folded to Black Lives Matter and Antifa. You turned Black Lives Matter here locally into big, large mansions. They now are one of the biggest real estate firms in all of New York City because of Eric Adams, who screwed the cops because now they can't even put their hands on demonstrators. That's because of Eric Adams signing off on that consent decree.
Curtis, let's go back to the morale with the NYPD. We all agree that it's down, right? The morale's down. With that said, we're informed that there's police officers showing up maybe 10 minutes late for whatever reason to a detail. They're being transferred from their unit for 90 days as a punishment. That's ridiculous. Okay, what happened to a commander discipline? Maybe it's one admonished. Maybe another command discipline. Maybe they take an hour or two. But to be transferred for 90 days, okay, and that's coming from the PC's office.
Well,
what's your opinion on that?
That's because you're getting all different orders from headquarters. Remember John Shell said, "All the tats got to go." Remember all the tattoos? First of all, I don't like tattoos on cops. I do not like sleeves. I understand you're doing undercover work. You need tats. You need to blend in. I see a police officer, man or woman, with tattoos on the neck. I saw the other day on the neck like a giraffe. What the hell is that?
Yeah, I agree.
Get it taken off. That's got to be lasered off. And then obviously whether it's beards or all that, all of a sudden people have discovered new religions they know nothing about, but it requires them having a beard. And I want the freaking hat. You see, Captain Ed Mamet, I want the freaking hat back on their head. I'm looking at these cops. Some of them I need an electron microscope to find. They're so short. And in a crowd, the only thing that stands out is the hat. Just like this in a crowd, the beret. That's why I forced the Guardian Angels. You must wear your red beret. That is what is identifiable. Cops are walking around like John Travolta, styling and profiling, preening. Put your freaking hats on. That's how the people identify you. And it's a sharper look. It's a more intense look. You see a cop with the hat on, and you say, man, don't mess with them. Especially you give them the wooden shampoo back item. You give them their baton back. That's how you keep a crowd at bay. I knew as a kid, once the cop pulled out the wooden baton,
the nightstick, yeah,
and went like this to the crowd knew to stand back, and the mounted unit gets used to do crowd control. There is nothing that puts more fear into demonstrators from the river to the sea, intifada, with the schmatters on their face, than you get 20 mounted police officers who can see right into the crowd. The horses turn sideways. That's like having 10 cops there. And then if all of a sudden you turn the horse and the horse goes, the crowd disperses
that's
because
what-
they didn't grow up with horses.
That's what
They're
they-
terrified of horses.
That's what they're
and
there
they
for.
run.
Crowd control. That's what they're there for.
Exactly. And
Exactly,
we
but they
pay for
won't-
them. There's 88 of them. They're up near Pelham. They're in the stables. They're trained. The police officers love the horses. They're not mistreated. And we're not using them except in parades, put two of them out in Times Square, with the naked cowboy. Hey, come on.
Curtis, speaking about the hat and your beret, the iconic red beret, which has been so much a part of the Curtis Sliwa persona. But I recently saw a picture of you without the beret since your decision to take it off. And I got to tell you, you look very mayoral. You looked like a CEO, which I guess really, in fact, you are because you've run the Guardian Angels. You've been a CEO of the Guardian Angels for decades. But you look very good without it.
Well, it's there are some people, that's how they define you. You could be a guy smoking Maui Wowie and Hindu Kush for 8 years on the back porch of Gracie Mansion, putting in a half-day Bill de Blasio, but, you got a suit. You look mayoral. You could be Andrew Cuomo smacking fannies and killing grannies, but, you got a suit on. You look like a governor. You could be Eric Adams with a $5,000 customized suit every day from some Turkish tailor. I know who it is on Madison Avenue. It's always Turkey, if you notice. And I'm saying, how the hell does a guy afford a $5,000 customized suit every day? Oh, but you're profiling me. No. But there are some people, they equate that as to being mayoral, corporate, CEO, COO, CFO. So for certain meetings, I've walked in without my beret on, and people were shocked. They can't even identify me. Example, I went to the wake of Bernard Kerik. He grew up in Paterson. They had it in the cathedral. Place was packed. So as a Roman Catholic, I know the rules. You walk in, you got to take your hat off, your beret. I'm sitting there. Rudy Giuliani, my kumbare cheech, passes me, doesn't even know who I am. Joe Loder, who ran for mayor in 2013, deputy mayor for Rudy, passed me 3 times, didn't even know who I was. Bo Dietl, who I've talked to many times, passes me by 3 times, does not even know who I is until suddenly I say, yo, Bo, what am I, a person of no consequence? He looks around, he said, Curtis? I said, yeah. I can't wear the beret in church. And then I pulled it out of the jacket. See? Wow. So the point is, in the streets and in the subways, it is important that I have that. Sure. I'm identifiable. In a corporate boardroom, I don't need to wear that. And if it makes the heavy hitters, the shot callers more comfortable, if they think, wow, this makes me mayoral, and then they give me a chance to talk and listen to me, I think that's more impressive, what I have to say. But if it's the look, styling and profiling for them that determines what they think, fine. I'll do whatever it takes to save the city.
Well, Curtis, speaking of CEOs, you recently had a meeting, I think, with the Partnership for the City of New York, which is a business advocacy I can't say that word.
About
advocacy group for business leadership within a city. So that's also a bit of a turnaround for you, which shows that you're being taken really seriously by the business community as a potential mayor. Can you tell us something about that meeting?
Yeah, well,
how did that go?
It was with Catherine Wild, was one of the top female achievers in business in the history of New York City. What bonded us was a little contentious at first. She goes, you make fun of billionaires, don't you? I say, yeah, I'm a blue-collar working-class guy, and I grew up, and I didn't grow up amongst rich people. I was trained by my dad and my mom, hardcore Democrats at the time, that the party of the rich are the Republican Party. Obviously, that's changed ever since Trump. The Republicans have become the party of the blue-collar working class. So she goes, yeah, I kind of figured it was that radio shtick of yours. I said, yeah. 35 years I'm on the radio. I got to perform. I can't just speak as if I'm running for office. So there's room to move. And then Catherine Wild heard about the Protect the Animals line. And while Ed Cox was there, the state chairman, who's been here since the days of Nixon, he was his son-in-law, she said, oh, yeah, I have 23 rescue cats and 6 rescue dogs in the mansion that she lives in Bay Ridge. That bonded us. Again, female. See? bonded us. Then we had a really good conversation. She couldn't have been more complimentary about my knowledge of the economy of the city and how I want to slash taxes and make it business friendly. Cuomo's not saying that. Adams is not saying that. And certainly Mondami wants to take their property and make it a tool of the state, which is right out of Karl Marx and Engels in Das Kapital.
Now, Curtis, what is your plan for recruitment with the NYPD? The biggest question I'm sure you're going to be asked.
Recruitment and
Recruitment
retention.
with the NYPD.
And retention.
And retention. But let's start with recruitment.
Yeah.
So obviously, that to become an NYPD officer, you have to, when you're sworn in, you have to be living in the confines of the 5 boroughs.
Right.
Or Rockland County, Orange County, I think Westchester. A few other connecting counties. Not New Jersey. So let's say Ramsey, New Jersey is 15 minutes from here. Would that be part of maybe a recruitment plan to allow kids from out of boroughs?
I know we're not going to drop dime on anybody. They're cops who live in New Jersey and Pennsylvania because it's a better quality of life for them and it's more affordable.
Yeah.
So I love all these elected officials. Oh, they got to live in the 5 boroughs. How are they going to afford to live in the 5 boroughs on their salary? It's impossible.
Maybe on somebody's couch, but yeah.
So my idea is best man, best woman for the job. I don't care where they come from. I'm more interested in, are they going to be able to be out there and provide for overall public safety? Nobody looks at a cop and says, you're not from Brooklyn. You know, it's like you're just happy to see a cop, especially with so few cops. So we have to do exactly what the other departments are doing. They're coming into New York City and recruiting our cops.
Yeah.
After 2-3 years, the cop is seasoned in the NYPD. Sure. They come in with their Winnebagos and RVs. They set up shop, Norfolk, Tidewater. They come in from Tucson, Tempe, and they really offer them some good deals. Plus,
a signing bonus, too. A signing bonus.
And the police officer knows they're going to go to a place where they respect cops.
Right.
Where their ability to move up the ranks will be greater because they have this NYPD experience. First year, they pay for the house, they pay for transportation. So we're going to have to compete. But I think the biggest impediment, too, DOI, oh, no, we got to have one from this, one from that, one from that. Well, what about people who can qualify to be cops? I don't care who they are. And it is the most diverse uniformed service group now, more diverse than anyone else.
Oh, yeah, without
every
question.
country, every background. But there are still people that when I look at them and I see them out on patrol, they are scared. They are intimidated. A thug just looks at them and you can see they bury their head in their phones. They don't want to engage. They're not confident. They don't have the physical kind of training that a police officer needs because there are times a police officer has to do a physical intervention. That's going to change. I don't care what their size, what their background, what their classification is. The training must improve, especially in terms of their physical ability to protect people and protect themselves.
When we went through the academy, you had boxing, you had wrestling. Now they don't have that. Sure. You can't even curse in the academy. You're going to get cursed out on the street.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So
they're getting
if
cursed.
If you can't handle it in the academy, how are you going to handle it on the street?
Well, you know, they'll have what is called restorative justice, like in the Department of Education. So I deal with teachers all the time. Unfortunately, their union, the UFT, has endorsed Zorhan Mandami, friend of all the thugs in school. So let's say a kid picks up a bat and hits a teacher. Sometimes happens. You know, that kid doesn't get arrested, even though the security officers there are under the guidance of the NYPD. Nope. They go into a room, it's called restorative justice. So let's say, Kevin, you were the teacher who got clobbered by the guy with the bat. You're sitting there, the guy is sitting there, he knows the game, and a counselor is sitting there. And he knows he must apologize to you and say it'll never happen again. And, you know, I'm a wayward youth and I come from a broken home and I really do apologize for this. And then everything is made good. And the moment you walk out, the guy looks at the teacher, I'm going to slit your throat, you rat. Restorative justice. That's what they want to do in the police department. There are people on the Democrat Socialist line, on the Working Families Party line, instead of arresting people like AOC. She doesn't believe in prisons. Neither does Zorhan Mandami. They don't believe anybody should be locked up. They believe in restorative justice. So if somebody just shot you, you should be lucky you're alive. Why should we incarcerate that person? We should have the ability of you to sit in a room, for them to apologize, for them to make themselves, they'll feel better. You'll feel better as the victim. Hell no. I want that guy locked up.
Right.
This is nuts. But they're all now protected by the NYPD, Zorhan Mandami. And let's just say somebody tried to get at Zorhan Mandami, not to hurt him, but get into his face. Cops would take him down, and all the Zorhan Mandami people would say, yeah, lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. Sanctimonious hypocrites, all of them. They have no street smarts. They don't know anything about the reality of what takes place. Thugs and thugettes need to be disciplined. They need to know that ultimately there are consequences and they can be arrested. And if they seek a life in prison, some of them talk about it 24/7. Yeah, I want to get my stripes. I want to do real time, adult time, prison time. We should accommodate them. And some of them wake up finally and realize, boy, that was pretty dumb.
Right.
Here it is. I'm in Fishkill. I'm in Damaraya. I'm in Attica. What the hell did I want to come up here for?
So if Curtis has some great ideas that we can bring forward, but when you're battling this radical
City council.
how are you going to rein them in? How are we going to rein them in?
Very simple. There are three things. Number one, everybody must take the subway. If you work for government, timestamps, I want to know that you're taking the subway. I'm taking the subway. Everybody's going to take
their cars away.
Take them away. Of course, they don't want you to have cars. They just took away 300,000 parking spaces. But they want the SUV. And if they're controller, public advocate, the public advocate, Chumani Williams, hates cops. He lives in the active garrison in Fort Hamilton, the safest place in all of New York City. He's got his show ID going in and out to the MPs. He's protected, but he doesn't want you to have to show your ID. Same with the controller. They hate the cops. So you just have to say everybody operates with the same rules. You will ride the subway, number one. We will provide you no police protection any longer. Oh, wait a second. You mean you're going to take away the guard shack at City Hall? Yeah. The reason they put the guard shack in, remember there was the former police officer, Davis, who became the city councilman. And remember, he had a beef with a constituent who took a gun out during session, shot him right there dead. And luckily, there was a cop up there in the peanut gallery. One shot, boom. And they were all hiding and crying. Oh, my God, shut up. This is what happens in the streets all the time. And now they have wall-to-wall security. So I'm going to say, you don't want security? You want to have social workers? We're not going to have cops any longer at City Hall. We're going to have social workers protecting you. Watch them have a heart attack. And I say, social workers will protect me too. What's good for you is good for me. I will spin them like tops. Now, the other thing you do is, and Adams doesn't do it, de Blasio did it to a degree because he had been a city councilman. You go in their districts. There are 51 city council people. Some are going to scream at you. Their constituents, they want a town hall meeting. You let them get the agita out, the surus out of their system. Then you sit down with the council person and you say, look, you need discretionary money. You need to bring the bacon home. Some people don't eat bacon any longer, so you can't use that term. Okay, I won't use the term bacon. I might be offending observant people here who don't eat pork. But you need to be able to bring projects back to your district. To put your name on a garbage can, like all of a sudden you were providing it instead of the taxpayers. You need to have signage. What a great council person. What do you need? Tell me what you need. But this is how I need you. And that's how you negotiate. And that's the way it's always been. And even with socialists and progressives and Working Families Party, they still have to deliver for their constituents. The only way to get Eric Adams to visit your district is to open up a nightclub. He'll cut the ribbon, and he won't leave till the break of dawn at 4 in the morning. It's the only way to get him into your district.
Very good point.
And by the way, nothing good ever happens in a club after 12 midnight. I've been in enough clubs in my youthful days of indiscretion. Nothing good happens in a nightclub after 12 midnight. I
can't see you in a nightclub.
Oh, man, I was the whirling dervish during the disco years.
So, Curtis, speaking about taking away cars, last time you ran, the NYPD offered you a police detail for the campaign. Have they asked you yet in regards to that?
No, they haven't, but they knew already from the first time I said no. And I would never trust any cops assigned to me by Eric Adams. Are you kidding? That SUV would be wired up like a Christmas tree. They would hear me inhale. They would hear me exhale. Why Zoran Mandami accepted police armed guards? You know, Eric Adams is listening to every conversation that Zoran Mandami has in that SUV driven around by the NYPD. Those are selected Adams cronies. Okay. I've met them before. No way.
So
I'm a street guy. I'll take my chances solo.
No detail.
No detail. And as I've said, we don't have enough cops. We need cops out there protecting. I saw Kaz Daughtry, Drone Man, and John Shell, his sidekick. They came up to do an interview with Sid Rosenberg. They had 8 guys from Intel protecting them. I think the only reason you would protect Kaz Daughtry, Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, is he does such lousy, stupid, corny videos on taxpayers' time. I mean, just the number of people would say, man, stop doing videos, man. That is so bad. I'm saying to myself, why do we have cops protecting all these people? How about cops protecting citizens? Isn't that what they were sworn up to do? Now, I know being Intel is great. You get to max and relax, hang out, your buddies with Kaz and John Shell and all that. I don't want them to be my buddies. I want them to go out and protect people.
You covered just about everything. Covered it all, my friend.
Well, let me mention one other thing.
Let him mention one more thing, then we'll...
You got these crooks who have to be prosecuted who destroyed the police department. Luckily, before everything crashed and burned, they were able to pull out. You have Mr. Caligula himself, who must be prosecuted, Jeffrey Madrick. Because of him, remember what Jessica Tisch said? All overtime ceases to exist. Well, he was giving women overtime in order to sexually pleasurize him on the 13th floor. Can you imagine the cleaning contract that had to go in once they kicked Mr. Caligula out to make sure you cleaned up all the flotsam and jetsam that he left behind with the ladies? That's number one. Timothy Pearson, right? Timothy Pearson has five lawsuits that we're paying for of him sexually harassing female police officers. What the hell is he doing as a so-called number 2 guy to Eric Adams? And why are we paying for his expenses? And Phil Banks, boy, he fled. His brother fled Department of Education because they were getting wine, dined, and pocket line. We need to have these people prosecuted. But you see, I believe the deal with Trump to save Eric Adams so that he will cooperate with anything the Trump administration wants, including these 9 people. You notice you haven't heard nothing from them. They're not complaining. Nobody's putting them on trial. What happened to Eric Ulrich? He was supposed to go on trial. Whatever happened to Ingrid Lewis-Martin, who told the mayor, God commanded you to be the mayor 30 years ago?
Is that the one with the red lipstick?
I am telling you, I deal with schizophrenic people, as you know, in the subways and streets, and I know them all. When you talk like that God is talking to you, you are a schizophrenic person, Eric Adams. And that was all put in his ear by the Reverend Ingrid Lewis-Martin. Hey, Bragg, how come you haven't prosecuted her yet? All these indictments, all these people fled the administration. They stole money. And yet they got a pass because the president needed Eric Adams to work with ICE. Let's face it, that's the bottom line.
There you go. On that note.
Curtis, where can people see you next? Can people, if they want to meet the train riding candidate for mayor, what lines are you going to be on? Let us know.
Well, I do the alphabet lines first. That's how I taught Anthony, my oldest son, who, remember, was a victim of a vicious gang beating back in October. Thank God to former Governor David Paterson, my husband-in-law, who is his stepfather. He dove in there. Remember, he took a licking, too. You know, Bragg still hasn't prosecuted that case. He's personal friends with David Patterson. So don't take it personally out there, ladies and gentlemen. Bragg doesn't prosecute anybody. He cuts them all loose. So if you want to see me, start with the alphabet, the A train first. Work the alphabet, then the number lines. But I spend a minimum of 2 hours a day on the subways campaigning. And obviously patrolling, taking care of the homeless, the emotionally disturbed, as my role as leader of the Guardian Angels.
And your son Anthony's also learning how to play the pipes, right? For the pipes and drums.
Anthony speaks Gaelic, plays the bagpipes, which is not easy to do. He got trained at NYU.
Yeah, I understand it's quite good.
Three-year commitment, yeah.
Is in all the parades. And I say, I want a DNA test.
And he's got a purple belt in karate.
His mother is all Polish, Mary. I'm part Polish. I'm part Italian. We don't speak a word of Gaelic. Yet he woke up one day, said he wanted to play the bagpipes. Very difficult to do.
Oh, yeah. A 3-year commitment.
And now, boy, he can get up in the middle of a group and perform for them. It's amazing.
So,
and you know how he learned about that? On his cell phone. Because the kids get to learn everything now on the computer and cell phone. And he just fell in love with the bagpipes.
So, Curtis, all right. So, any last words for our listening audience, which is mostly law enforcement personnel, relatives of law enforcement, blue-collar workers? What would you have to say to them? If you're going to ask them right now why to vote for you, if they're eligible to vote in the 5 boroughs, why would they vote for you?
Very simple. We don't have to get into a complicated discussion. I got you back.
Beautiful.
I got you back.
Well
I'm
said.
blue-collar, working class.
Right.
Love it.
I know the struggles you go through. I know how you get only service and grief and never get respect and never get put on a pedestal as you should. So when I'm the mayor, I guarantee you, the blue-collar working class people who are the backbone of the city and of the civil servant class to keep this government going, because let's face it, the staff does 99% of the work for all the bloated politicians. They're too busy shaking down millionaires and billionaires for donations. The staff people do all the work. They're the one, that's part of the permanent government. I will make sure they're recognized. And when staff has the good ideas and they do all the work, guess what? Curtis is going to step aside from the podium and say, I want you to know Mr. Johnson here is the author of this. He knows more about it than anybody else because I'm not omnipotent. I don't know all things. There are a lot of people who've dedicated their life. Police, public safety, corrections, which right now is the most difficult job in the city. It's like answering a 12-hour 911 call when you're assigned to the Rock. I'm going to let them, the experts, speak out. And obviously I got to sign off on it as mayor. But enough of this, these bloated politicians talking about things they know. That I'm watching Cuomo. It's like he's the police commissioner. He's the head of the PBA. This guy hates cops, but he has it down. Oh, he got a PowerPoint presentation like in the middle of COVID and the lockdown. Like you're listening to him like, in Italian, we have a word for that, a chiacchierone, a Pinocchio. The guy should have gotten an Academy Award the other day. I'm listening to him. But you're no cash bail, Cuomo. You're the reason we're in this mess. Oh, no, I'm going to... Don't listen to these guys because...
I grew up in an Italian household. I'd never heard that word.
I can give you other words. Bades.
So, Curtis, just to be clear, we were talking before about the COVID shot. If any city employees, including firemen, teachers, any city employee, besides police officers, would be reinstated, correct?
Absolutely. If Kyrie Irving, the anti-Semite who played for the Nets, who was good friends with Eric Adams and then ends up playing... with the Dallas Mavericks, owned by Adelson, a big Zionist. Try to figure that out. And my guy, Aaron Judge, he didn't get the shot. Yeah. People don't realize that. Adams gave him an exemption and gave other friends of Adams exemptions. We're going to restore them. We're going to make sure if they want to come back, they can come back. But either way, we're going to honor them. They're going to get full back pay benefits. And we will remind everyone they are the heroes, not the zeros that de Blasio, Cuomo, and Adams turned them into.
Now, how can folks out there, if they want to contribute to your campaign, donate, how would they go about that?
Well, see, I'm not your typical politician because by now a politician would have given you the place to go 4 times.
5 times.
5 times, 6 times. Please send the Shimolis, right? If you live in New York City, I get matching funds. Believe it or not, you get more than if you actually won a payload in Atlantic City or in Las Vegas. $8 for every $1 as long as you're a resident of New York City, but we'll also take money from outside of New York City. It's just not matched. You go to Sliwa for NYC.com. If you can't spell the name by now, shame on you. Sliwa, not the letter 4, not the number 4, FOR, NYC.com. And give money, because that's the only thing that I'm lacking in compared to the other three candidates. They've had a jump start on me in raising money, but I'm catching up very quickly.
Kevin, give him $1. I want to see it turn into $8.
Oh, I can't wait. After the show, I'm going to give you $10. Let's
Well,
go.
no. $5. Because when you look at Abraham Lincoln, you'll say Curtis Sliwa can go into neighborhoods where the only Republican they've ever seen is Abraham Lincoln on a $5 bill and be received
I like
and accepted.
that.
Now I just got to get him to vote for me.
Exactly.
How do I get a deal like that where I get eight to one?
Like you said, it's better in Atlantic City, better than the
I
New York
got to
Lotto.
run for office.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And let's keep the money, whether you win or lose. Gentlemen, it's been a great roundtable today. I thank everyone for being here. Retired Sergeant Rory Capra,
Thank you, Kevin.
retired
Retired
police
officer,
officer
Giordano.
David Giordano, and of course, the next mayor of the city of New York, Curtis Sliwa. Thank you, Curtis. I
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
having me on Cop Talk, and Ed Mamet. Thank you for wearing.
He's out there somewhere, Ed Mamet. He's out there somewhere.
Where it belongs.
That's the
I'd like to thank everyone for listening to Cop Talk. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on X at Cop Talk WABC. That's at Cop Talk WABC. Until next time, God bless you. God bless America. God bless law enforcement throughout the world. And God bless our U.S. military.